2019, Breon Ansley lost his title of Classic Physique Mr. Olympia by a narrow margin. Many bodybuilding fans and commentators felt that Breon was the most complete bodybuilder on the stage that day. Many claimed that the primary reason for his loss was simply that he was not classic enough. I'm not going to argue that Breon was robbed, but I do think it's incorrect to consider his physique not classic. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Frank Zane are often the only two referenced as the best examples of classic bodybuilding, but I feel like that's an oversimplification. In my opinion, a bodybuilder can be classic without looking like Schwarzenegger and Zane. The golden era of bodybuilding lasted 2 or 3 decades depending on when you think it started. It started sometime in the 1950s or 1960s and ended in the early 1980s. Only recognizing Schwarzenegger and Zane would be like saying the only bodybuilders of the modern era that mattered are Phil Heath and Jay Cutler, completely disregarding the likes of Branch Warren, Kai Green, Sean Roden, Dexter Jackson, and many others. The physique that stands out to me as most similar to Breon is from the Lion of Lebanon, Samir Bannout, the 1983 Mr. Olympia winner. For starters, they have comparable stats. Breon is 5'7" and competes at a weight of 187 pounds. From what I can find, Samir was 5'8" and competed at about 195 to 200 pounds. Now taking a look at their physiques, they have many of the same strengths and weaknesses. Overall, I think they're both extremely complete and balanced. Neither has a glaring weakness that jumps out to me. Both of them have great back density and detail, excellent arms, solid legs with good separation, and overall a pretty good flow. In terms of weaknesses, neither of them has the smallest waist ever, but that's a major point I'm trying to make in this video. While a lot of the great classic bodybuilders did have small waists, many of them were also a bit wider. A small waist is not the only factor that makes a physique classic. A wide waist is just a different build, although it is a genetic disadvantage. I think that with the right muscularity and proportions, physique with a wider waist can still be extremely aesthetic and classic. I want to clarify that I'm talking about the bone structure of their hips and rib cage, not distension of soft tissue. I think if Breon had a distended stomach or bubble gut, then it would be a completely different situation. Distended guts are an unfortunate trait of bodybuilding, but that didn't appear until after the golden or classic era. And it's a trait that is not classic whatsoever. I think there's been such a backlash against bubble guts in the open class that we discredit good physiques that just have a wide waist. Another good comparison to Breon is Lee Labrada. Although I think Labrada does have a little bit of a thinner waist, they still look strikingly similar in a lot of their poses. Part of what makes them look so similar is that they're both so well proportioned overall, which obviously includes their arms. Both of them do have nicely sized arms, and in general I think most classic bodybuilders did. To me, the proportion between muscles is more important than simply having a crazy V-taper in the physique. And I think that the definition of what's classic has been distorted by commentators with a biased perspective. On this note, I want to address the vacuum pose, which some may consider to be a requirement to be truly classic, and Breon takes criticism for not doing it in past competitions. First of all, not every classic bodybuilder was hitting vacuums on stage in every competition, which includes both Samir Bannout and Lee Labrada. Secondly, Breon actually can hit a solid vacuum. Looking at several of his recent updates, it's clear he's been practicing his vacuum, and I almost guarantee we see him use it on stage this year. Maybe it's not the deepest vacuum of all time, but then again, even Arnold's vacuum was shallow a lot of the time. In summary, I think what makes a physique classic is less about an extremely small waist and vacuum, and more about proportion and detailed muscles, traits which are both strengths of Breon. Let me know in the comments if you agree that Breon has a classic physique. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and consider subscribing for future content. You can follow me, Steve Sosa, on other social media platforms through the link in the description. Thanks for watching.